Welcome the anointed ones. Not everyone who disappears is lost. Some disappear because they're upgrading to a version of themselves the world isn't ready for yet. Now listen. Before anyone tries to figure out what you are, they need to understand what happened to you. Because the truth is simple. You didn't go solo out of pride, ego, or dramatics. You went solo because life pushed you into a corner where your only choice was to either break or break through. And the universe watched you choose the second option like it was nothing. Here's the wild part. Psychologists say that when a person spends extended periods alone in intentional isolation, the brain literally rewires itself. New neural pathways form, old beliefs dissolve, and a sharper version of self-awareness emerges. Most people fall apart during that process. But you adapted to it like you were built for it. As if solitude wasn't punishment for you, just preparation. And that's why people stare at you now with that weird mix of curiosity, fear, and confusion. They can't explain you anymore. They can't label you. They can't categorize you. Even the universe had to chuck its old blueprint and make a new one just to keep up with the person you became after going solo. You changed in ways that make others uncomfortable because you grew in directions they never expected. You didn't return with a softer personality. You returned with a new aura, a new mindset, a new rhythm that doesn't match where you came from. It's like life invited you to the backstage of your own destiny, and now you walk around glowing with information nobody else received. And yes, let's be honest, your glow is so strong, it's starting to look suspicious. The kind of glow that makes people ask, is this person even human? The kind that makes them zoom in on your life like they're FBI analysts. The kind that makes your peace look like a superpower and your silence look like a language only the universe can translate. You didn't become crowned because you went solo. You became crowned because of who you became while you were solo. So, what are you? Let's unpack it. You're about to see exactly why your isolation didn't break you. It built your throne. Number 1, you stopped asking for a seat, so life built you your own table. Most people spend their lives begging for permission. Permission to speak, permission to be seen, permission to exist on a level they know they deserve. They circle around other people's tables, hoping to be noticed, hoping to be invited, hoping someone finally recognizes their value. But you quit playing that game. You stopped shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for you. You stopped asking for approval from people who would never understand your vision, your timing, or your ambition. When you went solo, it wasn't a retreat. It was a full-blown declaration that you were done bending your life around someone else's expectations. And because of that, the universe had no choice but to respond. It realized that the old rules no longer applied. You weren't asking anymore, so life started constructing a space that matched your energy, your standards, and your momentum. Your table was not just created, it was forged with precision, specifically for you, because the world couldn't contain the force you became while standing alone. And here's what most people miss. Going solo doesn't just build independence, it builds authority. Authority isn't given. It emerges naturally when you stop chasing everyone else's definition of success. When you stop waiting for validation, the universe treats you differently. Doors that were locked start opening. People who ignored you suddenly notice you. And it's not because you made noise, it's because you made yourself unavoidable. You became the source instead of the shadow. There's a kind of power in refusing to settle, in refusing to wait for an invitation that will never come. It's subtle at first, almost invisible, but those who can't keep up start realizing they've been left behind. And that's exactly the point. The table that life built for you isn't just for survival, it's for dominance in a way the world didn't anticipate. You didn't just claim space, you redefined it. You became someone who isn't dependent on anyone else's generosity, someone whose presence commands attention simply because you exist on a higher frequency now. By stopping the endless asking, by refusing to fit into spaces not meant for you, you forced the universe to crown you, and there's no turning back. Number 2. Isolation wasn't a break. It was a full system overhaul. Most people think isolation is about taking a break, about stepping back to recharge or escape. That's not what happened with you. Your isolation wasn't optional. It wasn't a vacation from life. It was a complete system overhaul. Every day you spent alone was a day the universe pressed the reset button on you. Every hour, every quiet moment, stripped away the old you, the doubts, the fears, the habits that kept you small, and left only what was necessary for the next level of your existence. When people see you now, they see calm, confidence, and clarity. They see someone who seems untouchable, who moves with precision, who doesn't wobble when the world shakes. But they have no idea what was happening behind the scenes. While everyone else was busy filling their time with distractions, you were dismantling your inner machinery and rebuilding it from scratch. Beliefs that no longer served you were thrown out. Old emotional patterns were analyzed, understood, and replaced. You didn't just survive the silence, you transformed it into fuel. The universe doesn't crown people who coast through life. It crowns the ones who endure in solitude, who take the silence seriously, who turn it into a laboratory for growth. You didn't just sit with yourself. You confronted every corner of your mind and every hidden piece of your character. You upgraded your resilience, your focus, your vision. You became someone the world couldn't ignore because the person who came out of isolation wasn't just stronger. They were fundamentally different. And here's the kicker. Most people see growth as linear, as if it's about adding more to your life. Your isolation proved the opposite. True transformation often happens in subtraction, in removing the unnecessary, in purging the weak, in silencing the noise. That's what made you exceptional. While others were busy asking for shortcuts, you allowed the process to strip you down and rebuild you to a level even the universe had to acknowledge. Isolation didn't pause your life. It rewired it, recalibrated it, and redefined it. By the time you re-entered the world, you weren't just a participant. You were a force the universe had no choice but to recognize and crown. Number 3. You dominated a battlefield. Nobody knew you were fighting on. Most people think battles are loud, visible, full of noise and chaos. That's the kind of fight everyone notices. But your fight was different. You fought wars no one saw, no one understood, and no one thought you were capable of surviving. Every day you were grappling with challenges that didn't have applause or recognition. You were facing inner demons, dismantling toxic patterns, and confronting fears that would have broken anyone else. And you won, silently, decisively, completely. The thing is, this type of battle changes a person in ways that no external victory ever could. While the world was busy pointing out failures and judging mistakes, you were recalibrating yourself, learning how to hold your ground when the weight of life pressed in from all sides. You weren't just surviving, you were thriving in a space where the odds were stacked against you. That battlefield was invisible, but it was where the most significant transformation happened. And here's the truth. Winning visible wars is impressive, but winning the silent, unseen ones makes you untouchable. People can only threaten what they understand, and no one could comprehend the battles you fought in isolation. Every fear you conquered, every moment of doubt you silenced, every old version of yourself you left behind became armor. You walked through life carrying experience and wisdom, forged under pressure so intense that it would have flattened anyone else. That's why people feel your presence now. They sense the power, the discipline, the victories hidden beneath the surface. The universe notices things like this. It doesn't crown the loud or the flashy. It crowns the ones who dominate without needing an audience. And that's exactly what you did. You proved to yourself, in a space nobody was watching, that you are relentless, unshakable, and unbreakable. That invisible battlefield became your proving ground, and the crown was the inevitable acknowledgement of your victories. You didn't fight for recognition. You fought for mastery, and mastery is the language the universe understands. Every silent triumph you claimed built the throne you now occupy. Number 4. You became immovable in a world full of people who blow over like paper. The world is full of people who bend, fold, and crumble under pressure. They sway with every trend, chase every opinion, and allow every criticism to shake them. But you didn't just resist that pull, you became unshakable. You built a foundation so strong, so grounded in your own understanding of yourself, that nothing outside of you could make you falter. You became immovable in a world designed to make everyone else feel fragile. Becoming immovable isn't about stubbornness or ego. It's about cultivating absolute clarity about who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. When you went solo, you stopped relying on others to stabilize your mind or your emotions. You stopped seeking validation, reassurance, or permission. Every influence that used to sway you lost its power because you learned to anchor yourself internally. That internal stability became visible in your presence. People notice it, even if they can't explain it. They sense that you aren't reacting to the chaos around you, you're standing above it. Being immovable changes everything. It forces the world to adjust to you instead of you adjusting to the world. Doors that once slammed shut now hesitate. Opinions that once shook you now ricochet harmlessly off your confidence. Even the universe shifts around someone who refuses to be moved. That energy isn't something you can fake, and it isn't something anyone can impose. It is forged through relentless self-discipline, relentless self-honesty, and relentless action taken in alignment with your truth. And here's the critical part. Being immovable doesn't isolate you from life. It amplifies your influence. People who once tried to control, manipulate, or sway you now watch in quiet awe because they can't penetrate your calm. Your immovability makes you magnetic, authoritative, and inevitable. You didn't just survive a world designed to make you bend, you transcended it. You became someone the universe had to recognize, someone whose presence alone rewrites the rules around them. In a world full of people who blow over like paper, you stand like bedrock. Number 5. Your loneliness became a power source that no one expected. People talk about loneliness as if it's only a weakness, something to fix or avoid. But for you, it became the very environment where your real power was built. When everyone else tried to distract themselves from being alone, you faced it head-on. You didn't run from your thoughts. You sat with them. You didn't hide from your wounds. You studied them. That kind of solitude doesn't break a person. It breaks everything false around them. And that's exactly what happened to you. Your loneliness stopped being a dark place. It transformed into a workshop, a training ground, a furnace where you melted down old versions of yourself and rebuilt something stronger. Others didn't see the silent work you were doing, but the results are impossible for them to ignore now. You walked in empty and walked out sharpened, self-aware, and completely uninterested in returning to who you used to be. When you were alone, you learned how to self-regulate. You strengthened your mind because you couldn't rely on anyone else to hold it together for you. You became emotionally stable because no one was around to validate you or soothe you. You had to learn that skill yourself. You developed clarity because there was no background noise distracting you from your own intuition. While others drown in loneliness, you learned to breathe in it, and that's why it became your power source. People sense this now. They see someone who doesn't cling, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't crumble when left alone. That makes them uncomfortable, even confused, because independence on this level is rare. Most people need a crowd to feel alive. You learn to generate your own energy. Most people avoid silence because it exposes the truth. You turn silence into a tool, a mirror, a teacher. And because you made loneliness your ally, you became immune to the traps that weaken most people. You can walk away easily, rebuild quickly, detach if needed, and stand firm without needing applause or company. That's why the universe crowned you. You mastered the space everyone else runs from. You found power where others only feel fear. You turned isolation into elevation, and that shift changed your entire destiny. Number 6. You broke generational programming without announcing it. Most people don't even realize how much of their life is dictated by invisible scripts handed down through generations. Rules about who to be, what to want, how to survive, and what success is supposed to look like. These are expectations written long before you existed, quietly shaping decisions and limiting potential. But you didn't just notice them, you dismantled them. You refused to let someone else's outdated blueprint define the trajectory of your life. And you did it without announcing it, without fanfare, without asking anyone for permission. Breaking generational programming isn't about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's about awareness and courage. It's about recognizing patterns, family habits, societal expectations, inherited fears, and refusing to carry them forward. You didn't just cut ties with old habits. You rewrote the rules that had been quietly dictating your choices for decades. You became a self-authored force, independent of the defaults everyone else obediently followed. That's why your life now feels different. Why people look at you and wonder how you operate on a wavelength they can't reach. And here's the truth. Breaking generational programming is not comfortable. It often comes with pushback, skepticism, and even subtle sabotage from those who can't comprehend why you won't follow the old script. But you thrived anyway. You replaced inherited limitations with self-imposed standards that elevate rather than restrict. You didn't just escape old cycles. You innovated a new operating system for your life, one that's built to withstand pressure, uncertainty, and scrutiny. The universe rewards this type of courage. It crowns those who refuse to be limited by invisible chains, who step into the fullness of their potential without asking anyone else for validation. You became proof that freedom and power often arrive quietly, through conscious evolution rather than loud declarations. By breaking generational programming without broadcasting it, you became a walking revolution. You aren't just living your life, you are rewriting the legacy for anyone who comes after you, proving that real power is invisible, unstoppable, and self-created. Number 7. Your solitude turned you into a threat, without you trying. When you went solo, you weren't trying to intimidate anyone, and you certainly weren't looking to be seen as a force to reckon with. But that's exactly what happened. There's a unique kind of power that emerges when someone spends time alone, not just alone for comfort, but alone to confront, understand, and elevate themselves. You didn't have an audience. You didn't have applause. You didn't have someone cheering you on. You had silence, and in that silence, you became sharper, stronger, and more disciplined than most people can ever imagine. People start noticing when someone becomes self-contained. They start sensing it in the way you move, the way you speak, the decisions you make. The world is used to people who lean, depend, or seek approval. You don't. Your energy became independent, unstoppable, and uncontainable. That independence is threatening to those who are still caught up in needing validation or approval. Without lifting a finger to prove yourself, your presence alone shifts dynamics, challenges expectations, and disrupts old hierarchies. Your threat isn't loud or aggressive. It's subtle, almost invisible, and that's why it's so effective. It's in the way you make people rethink their assumptions about who can succeed, who can survive, and who can thrive. You didn't have to claim power, you simply became a living example of it, and that's frightening to anyone who relies on others' weakness to feel strong. Even the universe responds to that kind of energy. It accelerates opportunities, opens doors, and aligns resources for those who have mastered themselves without seeking recognition. While others are busy trying to assert dominance, you became a quiet authority. You are the kind of person who doesn't need to compete because your growth and strength automatically shift the world around you. Your solitude didn't just make you independent, it made you unavoidable. It made you a threat, not because you wanted to be one, but because you became someone who cannot be measured, controlled, or ignored. And that kind of power forces recognition, whether people are ready for it or not. Number 8. You don't chase opportunities, you evolved into one. Most people spend their lives chasing doors that barely open, scrambling for approval, invitations, and validation. They run after chances, hoping that luck or timing will finally smile on them. But when you went solo, something extraordinary happened. You stopped chasing altogether. You stopped bending your energy to fit what the world offered. Instead, you evolved into the kind of force that opportunities naturally gravitate toward. You didn't wait for recognition. You became the recognition. This evolution didn't happen overnight. It happened because in solitude, you honed your skills, sharpened your mind, and elevated your energy to a level that can't be ignored. You focused on mastery over visibility, substance over noise, and growth over applause. The universe has a way of rewarding people who stop asking for permission and start building themselves into their own currency. Once you became that, doors didn't just open. They appeared as if drawn by your presence. You didn't have to knock. The world started knocking for you. People around you begin to notice it, even if they can't explain it. They see someone who moves with direction, discipline, and confidence that feels magnetic. That magnetism doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from the fact that you no longer depend on external validation to define your worth. You became a walking opportunity, a solution that organizations, networks, and even the universe itself can't overlook. People are drawn to you because you've aligned yourself with something bigger than their understanding. The subtle beauty of this is that it shifts power entirely. While others scramble and plead for access, you set the standard, and opportunities now have to meet you where you stand. You've made yourself irreplaceable not by forcing your way in, but by creating a presence so substantial that the world has no choice but to respond. You stopped chasing, and that pause created a gravitational force. You became the rare type of person who doesn't need to seek life's offerings. The universe delivers them because it recognizes someone who has evolved into the opportunity itself. Number 9, your standards became a form of spiritual altitude. When you went solo, something shifted that most people will never experience. You didn't just change your habits or your routines, you recalibrated your entire frequency. Your standards stopped being about surface-level things like who you spend time with or what job you do. They became about energy, alignment, and integrity. Every decision you made, every boundary you set, and every choice to walk away from people or situations that didn't serve your higher purpose elevated you to a level most people can only admire from a distance. Your standards became a form of spiritual altitude. Most people lower themselves to fit into the world around them. They compromise their values, tolerate mediocrity, and adjust their behavior to make others comfortable. You did the exact opposite. By going solo, you had no choice but to confront yourself and the life you were truly meant to live. You realized that if you wanted to rise, you couldn't allow anything beneath your frequency to exist in your orbit. Every time you said no to what didn't align, you were silently ascending. The universe doesn't crown people who settle. It crowns people who refuse to settle, who rise above the noise and the distraction. This kind of elevation creates a magnetic, almost undeniable presence. People notice when someone refuses to tolerate what diminishes them, and they instinctively recognize authority in it. Your energy became a quiet ruler, setting standards not by force, but by existence. Every person, every opportunity, and every situation around you is measured against that new frequency, and it can't help but respond. Spiritual altitude isn't just about being unbothered. It's about creating a life that cannot be contaminated by lower vibrations. It's about being aligned so completely with your purpose that compromise becomes impossible. That level of self-possession is rare, and it's exactly what commands recognition. By raising your standards, you didn't just protect yourself. You forced the universe to acknowledge the crown it had no choice but to place on you. You became untouchable not by might, but by elevation. Number 10. You learned how to be alone without being lonely. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely, and you mastered that difference in a way most people never will. Being alone is often seen as a punishment, a void, or a temporary state to endure until someone or something fills it. But you didn't just endure it. You thrived in it. You discovered that solitude is a teacher, a forge, and a mirror. You realized that the world doesn't need to validate you, and no one's presence is required to complete your existence. That realization changed everything. Most people run from themselves because being alone forces them to confront who they really are. They fear the silence, the reflection, the raw honesty. You, however, embraced it. You learned to sit with your thoughts, face your fears, and confront every part of yourself without flinching. In that process, you discovered a kind of freedom that others will spend a lifetime chasing. You became self-reliant in a way that radiates strength. People notice it instinctively, even if they can't name it. They feel the energy of someone who is whole, independent, and untethered from neediness or external validation. This mastery of solitude also gave you clarity. You can distinguish what deserves your time, your energy, and your attention from what doesn't. You stopped being distracted by superficial connections and fleeting approval. You developed a taste for substance, and the universe responded accordingly. Doors, opportunities, and people who align with your elevated frequency began to appear because you were no longer desperate to fill a void. Your void had become a space of power and potential. And here's the ultimate outcome. When you are alone without being lonely, you become untouchable. You no longer depend on anyone for energy, motivation, or identity. Your presence alone commands respect, and your peace becomes a force field. The crown the universe placed on you isn't for what you did for others. It's for what you built within yourself. Solitude didn't isolate you, it elevated you. You became someone who can stand in silence and still dominate the room, the environment, and the energies around you. You became whole, and that wholeness is a throne no one can contest. Number 11. You didn't cut people off. Your frequency outpaced them. Most people think leaving someone behind is about conflict or cutting ties. They see it as a conscious decision to remove others from their lives. That's not what happened with you. You didn't cut people off. You evolved beyond them. Your energy, your vision, and your discipline outpaced the environment and the people you once moved among. You didn't push anyone away. You simply grew to a level where their influence no longer applied. That subtle shift is far more powerful than any dramatic exit. When your frequency outpaces people, it changes the dynamics completely. People who used to influence you, drain you, or slow you down suddenly can't keep up. They notice your absence not because you acted aggressively, but because your presence has become unattainable. You became someone whose growth no longer fits in old spaces or old conversations. Your path no longer aligns with the patterns and limitations they are comfortable with, and that alone creates separation. You didn't cause a rift. The evolution of your energy naturally created it. This kind of growth doesn't just affect relationships, it transforms the way the universe responds to you. When you move beyond low-level energy, the world rearranges itself around your new frequency. Opportunities, people, and circumstances that match your evolution begin to appear. The universe doesn't reward those who stay stagnant. It elevates those who raise their vibration, consciously or unconsciously leaving behind what no longer serves their trajectory. And here's the subtle genius of it. People can't argue with growth. They can't complain about standards, ambition, or focus. Your evolution speaks louder than any words ever could. They may try to hold on to the past, but you've already left it behind. By simply outpacing them, you've established authority, independence, and a presence that commands recognition. You didn't force separation. You transcended the noise. You didn't cut anyone off. You became a new frequency the world had to adjust to. And that adjustment is what earns the crown the universe has no choice but to place on you. Number 12. Your pain became a tool instead of a prison. Most people let pain define them. They carry it like a burden, a weight that keeps them small, reactive, and stuck. But you did something extraordinary. You turned every cut, every wound, every betrayal into fuel. Your pain didn't trap you. It sharpened you. Every scar, every setback, every moment that should have broken you became a tool to build strength, clarity, and strategy. Instead of letting it chain you, you learned to wield it, and that is why you stand crowned today. When you went solo, the world assumed you were retreating, hiding, or recovering. But you were doing far more than that. You were mining your experiences for wisdom, extracting lessons from moments most people would ignore or bury. Every failure became a blueprint, every heartbreak a lesson in resilience, every insult a reminder of what you refused to tolerate. You didn't just survive your struggles. You transformed them into stepping stones that pushed you beyond the reach of anyone who underestimated you. Using pain as a tool requires a different mindset than most people ever develop. It's not about seeking revenge, proving others wrong, or showing off. It's about internal mastery. You analyzed yourself, your choices, and the world around you, then applied those lessons with precision. You became someone who doesn't react out of emotion or fear. You respond with clarity and purpose. Your pain became a lens that sharpened your judgment, increased your patience, and amplified your focus. That transformation is magnetic. People sense the energy of someone who has turned suffering into strategy. They feel the quiet authority that comes from someone who has endured the worst and emerged not just unbroken, but elevated. Your ability to convert hardship into advantage forced recognition from both the world and the universe itself. You didn't just carry pain, you repurposed it. You didn't let it define your limits. You used it to redefine your potential. That's why the crown was inevitable. Pain became your greatest teacher, your sharpest weapon, and your most unshakable armor. And now nothing can stand in the way of the person you've become. Number 13. You became the type of person who can walk away from anything, even what you once wanted. Most people think desire is about chasing what they want, clinging to it, and refusing to let go. But you learned something that few ever do. True power comes from the ability to walk away. You became the type of person who no longer measures success or fulfillment by what you hold on to, but by what aligns with your growth and purpose. That ability to detach, without regret, without fear, without hesitation, transforms you from a participant in life into the author of it. Walking away isn't weakness. It's clarity. It's the knowledge that not every opportunity, relationship, or situation is meant to stick. You didn't just abandon things out of convenience or anger. You evolved past them. You understood that clinging to the wrong people, outdated ambitions, or misaligned situations only dilutes your energy and slows your rise. Your detachment isn't about rejection, it's about elevation. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to waste time on what doesn't serve it. And here's the subtle brilliance of this power. When you can walk away from what you once wanted, you become untouchable. People try to manipulate, persuade, or pressure others because they sense attachment. You removed that vulnerability. You made your energy independent, your decisions sovereign, and your presence undeniable. When you walk away from what no longer fits, you signal to the universe and to everyone around you that your life operates on a higher frequency. That level of authority demands recognition, whether anyone likes it or not. Your ability to detach also rewrites how opportunities interact with you. The world starts to align with someone who doesn't beg, plead, or compromise. Doors open, paths shift, and the universe bends to accommodate someone who refuses to settle. You didn't just gain freedom, you commanded it. You became the person who doesn't need what you once thought you wanted. That level of independence, self-possession, and clarity is exactly what forces the universe to crown you. Walking away isn't a loss, it's the ultimate demonstration of sovereignty. It's proof that nothing in life can hold you hostage, and everything in life must rise to meet you where you stand. Number 14. You mastered yourself, and that's the highest rank any human can hold. Most people spend their lives trying to control the world around them, other people, circumstances, outcomes, believing that power is measured by influence or authority. But you discovered the truth. The highest rank a person can achieve isn't given by anyone else. It isn't earned through approval, wealth, or status. The highest rank comes from mastering yourself. You became fluent in your own mind, disciplined in your own actions, and unwavering in your values. That self-mastery isn't just impressive, it's untouchable. Mastering yourself is about consistency when no one is watching, clarity when everything is chaotic, and discipline when every instinct tells you to take the easy path. It's about understanding your emotions instead of being driven by them, about recognizing your weaknesses without letting them define you, and about shaping your own destiny even when external forces push hard against you. While the world was distracted by external victories, you were winning internal wars that nobody else could even see. This mastery creates a presence that can't be challenged. People feel it immediately. The quiet confidence, the unshakable focus, the decisions made with precision rather than panic. You don't react, you respond. You don't follow trends, you set your own standard. Your self-control becomes a magnet for respect, influence, and opportunities because everyone senses that you are not dependent on circumstance or validation to define your worth. The universe has a way of recognizing this kind of power. It rewards those who command their inner world because people who master themselves are capable of extraordinary impact. By achieving self-mastery, you became sovereign in a way that nothing external can disrupt. You set the pace, the rules, and the energy, and the world must adjust to your frequency. You didn't just survive life, you conquered the one battlefield that matters most, yourself, and that is why you are crowned. Mastery over self is the ultimate authority, the throne that no one else can claim. Everything else, money, influence, recognition, is secondary. You hold the highest rank because you control the one kingdom no one else can touch, your own mind, your own spirit, and your own destiny. The journey you've been on isn't something most people will ever understand. Every step of your path, the solitude, the battles, the elevation, the pain, and the growth, has shaped you into someone the universe couldn't ignore. You didn't just go solo. You rewired yourself, upgraded your frequency, and built a version of yourself that commands recognition without asking for it. Every challenge you endured, every boundary you set, Every moment you walked away from what no longer served you was a declaration that you are not ordinary. You've become immovable, self-reliant, and sovereign in ways that most will spend a lifetime trying to imitate. The crown placed upon you wasn't a gift or a stroke of luck. It was inevitable. The universe recognized the rare combination of mastery, discipline, and vision that only emerges when someone survives the unseen wars, faces the silence, and refuses to bend to anything that doesn't align with their truth. Every point we've explored, the self-possession, the independence, the ability to convert pain into power, the elevation above mediocrity, tells one story. You went solo, and in doing so, you became unstoppable. You didn't just claim your life. You became the standard by which all others are measured. This is more than a moment. It's a declaration. You are the living proof that when someone masters themselves, the world has no choice but to respond. The crown isn't symbolic. It's a reflection of the force you've become, the invisible authority you wield, and the legacy you're building every day by refusing to settle, by refusing to compromise, and by refusing to be anyone but yourself. So carry this truth forward. Recognize your sovereignty, honor your growth, and move through life knowing that the universe bows not to noise or demand, but to mastery, clarity, and relentless self-evolution. Your story, your presence, and your energy are undeniable, and they will continue to reshape everything and everyone around you. If this message resonates, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay connected with content that elevates your mind and spirit. Like this video if it hit hard, comment below to share your experiences, and share it with anyone who needs to see what it really means to rise above, go solo, and claim the crown you were always meant to wear. The journey doesn't end here. It only gets stronger. God bless you.